Camilla, now queen, made a secret push to claim part of the late queen's private fortune, not for herself, but for her daughter. But Prince William pushed back hard, demanding the assets stay with Catherine, the future queen. A royal clash unfolded quietly, but we have the proof of everything. The shocking request at Highgrove, Camilla's bold move. It was supposed to be just another quiet afternoon at Highgrove House, the countryside retreat where King Charles III often escapes the pressures of the palace. But inside those private walls, a conversation took place that could have shaken the foundations of the monarchy. As Queen Camilla sat across from her husband, her tone was calm, but her words weren't ordinary. She floated a proposal, a request that no royal consort had ever made so boldly. Camilla asked Charles to redirect part of his personal inheritance to her daughter, Laura Lopes. This wasn't about crown assets or public funds. Camilla was talking about Charles's private wealth, estates, jewels, and heirlooms passed down through generations. She wasn't just suggesting a gift. She was pushing for a change in the line of inheritance, something that touches the very core of royal tradition. What made it even more shocking was the timing. Just months after the death of Queen Elizabeth II in September 2022, Charles had inherited not just the crown, but also a private fortune estimated at over £650 million. And now, Camilla wanted to carve out a piece of it, not for herself, but for her daughter from her first marriage, someone with no royal bloodline. "Laura has been my rock through everything," Camilla reportedly told Charles. "She's never asked for anything, and yet she stood by me when the world turned its back." Her voice may have been steady, but the request was seismic. If Charles agreed, it would be a direct challenge to centuries of monarchical order, where inheritance flows through the bloodline, especially toward the heir, Prince William, and his wife, Catherine. The real purpose behind Camilla's plea? Some insiders believe it wasn't just about fairness. It was a carefully timed move to weave her bloodline deeper into royal legacy. Because titles might be out of reach for Laura, but wealth speaks volumes, especially in the palace corridors. If Laura was written into the king's will, it would be a lasting marker, a financial seal tying her to the crown, not by title, but by treasure. Of course, Charles didn't say yes. He didn't say no either. The room went quiet, and what hung in the air was a decision too dangerous to make alone. "You know what this means, don't you?" Charles is believed to have murmured. "This isn't just about money. This changes everything." But the silence didn't last long, because someone else would soon find out, and that someone wasn't going to stay quiet. Why Camilla is pushing now, and what's at stake? The timing of Camilla's request wasn't random. In fact, those close to the palace say it was calculated, driven by a deep understanding of what's at stake. After Queen Elizabeth II died in 2022, the crown passed to Charles, but so did her massive private wealth, including the Duchy of Lancaster, a portfolio valued at over £650 million. Unlike the crown estate, this was personal property, and Camilla knew that every penny of it was now under Charles's name. What makes this moment critical is Charles's age and health. At 76, with ongoing public concern about his well-being, succession talks have intensified behind closed doors. Everyone knows that when Charles is gone, Prince William and Princess Catherine will inherit not just the throne, but also the legacy, the lands, and the power. And Camilla? She'll be a Queen Dowager, and her children, Laura Lopes and Tom Parker Bowles, will remain on the outside looking in. Camilla sees this narrow window, a shrinking opportunity to secure something meaningful for Laura, before it all flows to the House of Wales. Her children don't carry royal blood. They can't inherit titles. They don't even get Scotland Yard protection, unless there's a specific threat. But Camilla believes they deserve something for their lifelong loyalty and for the sacrifices they've made as she rose from scandal to queen. Especially Laura, who's always stayed behind the curtain, never seeking press, never causing trouble. This isn't just about securing wealth for a daughter. For Camilla, it's about rewriting her family's place in royal history. She's no longer the woman the public once rejected. She's queen, and she wants her legacy to reach beyond the crown, into the future, even if that means breaking tradition. But the pressure isn't just emotional. It's political. With growing public criticism over royal spending, Charles must be cautious. Any deviation from standard inheritance could spark questions from Parliament, headlines about favoritism, and backlash that would rock the monarchy's already delicate image. Still, Camilla pushed, because she knew if she waited too long, it would be too late. "This isn't about challenging the throne," she reportedly told a close aide. "It's about being seen, finally, as a mother, not just a queen." And now, the royal equation is unstable. Because once something like this is said, especially inside the walls of Buckingham Palace, it cannot be unheard. And when Princess Anne hears it, things will take a sharp turn. The King's Dilemma: husband or monarch? When Camilla's proposal landed at his feet, King Charles III was forced into the most uncomfortable corner any sovereign can face, choosing between the woman he loves and the crown he wears. And the deeper he thought about it, the more impossible the decision became. As the monarch, Charles is the custodian of royal legacy. That means the personal assets he controls, private estates, heirloom jewels, and priceless collections, aren't just family property. They are symbols of national history passed down through bloodlines, not blended families. Changing the flow of inheritance might seem simple on paper, but in the royal world it is a constitutional earthquake. The Clarence House will, updated just before Charles took the throne, was designed with Prince William and Catherine in mind. Everything personal, from the private lands to the lesser-known artifacts locked away in Balmoral and Sandringham, was expected to pass through them. Not because of favoritism, but because that's how monarchy works. The crown doesn't bend to personal affection. It moves in straight lines. Camilla's request shattered that clarity. It wasn't about policy, it was about emotion. About being seen as more than a Woodle placeholder. And while Charles might have sympathized with her, he also understood the firestorm it could ignite. Already, whispers were floating through Parliament. Questions about how much Charles inherited from his mother, how it's being taxed, and whether royal finances need deeper public audits. If he even considered altering the will, it would raise flags with MPS, with the press, and even with the Privy Council. It would also invite comparisons to the recent Duchy of Cornwall controversies, where accusations of opacity stirred public outrage. More than that, Charles knew how William would react. His son is not just a prince. He's a symbol of stability, a future king holding the monarchy together with his wife. Any change in inheritance would risk fracturing that trust. And if Charles lost William's confidence, the royal foundation itself could start to crack. That's when Charles made his next move, the only move he could make. "I need to speak to Anne," he reportedly said. "She'll tell me what I need to hear, not what I want to." And so, the weight shifted. The decision was too heavy for one man to carry. He needed his strongest ally, The one person who could cut through sentiment like a sword. Princess Anne. Princess Anne's verdict. Absolutely not. When Princess Anne picked up the phone, Charles didn't waste time. He laid it all out. Camilla's request, the emotional reasoning, the legal risks, and the impact it could have on William and Catherine. Anne listened, silent as always, her mind calculating faster than anyone in that palace room could match. And then she answered, with the kind of clarity that only Anne possesses. "It's not happening," she said bluntly. "We don't break the line. Not now. Not ever." Anne has always been the monarchy's iron backbone, not flashy, not emotional, but deeply loyal to the rules that hold the institution together. She's lived through the Diana years, the Andrew scandals, and the Harry and Meghan storm. She knows that once the public sees favoritism or personal meddling in royal succession or assets, the entire system becomes vulnerable. She reminded Charles of the legal structure already in place. The will directs everything toward William, with Catherine acting as steward for the next generation. George, Charlotte, and Louis. Any diversion would open the door to parliamentary scrutiny, or worse, calls for the abolition of royal privileges. Anne was also blunt about Laura Lopes. "She's lovely," Anne admitted, "but she's not in the line." Period. Giving her even a symbolic piece of inheritance could undermine the institution's neutrality, making it look like a personal kingdom rather than a national one. More importantly, Anne spoke about Catherine. She didn't just defend her, she elevated her. "Kate is our future," she said. "She's earned it. Don't strip her legacy to pad someone else's." Coming from Anne, the hardest-working royal of 2023, with 474 public engagements, that statement wasn't emotion, it was fact. What Anne feared most wasn't a single change to a will, it was the precedent. If Charles gave in to Camilla now, what would stop future monarchs from handing out royal privileges to stepchildren, spouses, relatives, or even outsiders? Anne's call wasn't cold-hearted, it was clear-headed. And it put the crown back in its rightful place, not as a tool of affection, but as a fortress of tradition. The message was loud and final. "If you bend this once, Charles, you break it forever." And with that, the king knew what had to be done. But the real test would come when William found out. William's unyielding stand. It all stays with Catherine. The moment Prince William learned of Camilla's suggestion, his reaction was anything but diplomatic. Behind palace walls, his response was swift, direct, and uncompromising. According to close insiders, he felt blindsided, not by Charles, but by Queen Camilla, a woman he has always treated with measured respect, yet never full trust. William didn't see Camilla's move as a simple request from a concerned mother. To him, it felt like an ambush, disguised as sentiment. Because in his eyes, inheritance isn't just about jewelry, lands, or titles, it's about continuity, the very essence of monarchy. The moment assets meant for the Wales line are redirected, even partially, the institution loses its structure. And make no mistake, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, is at the center of that structure. William reportedly told a senior aide, "This isn't about wealth. It's about the legacy Kate will guard for our children." Since marrying Catherine in April 2011, William has watched her become not only the face of modern royalty, but its most stabilizing force. She has been present, poised, and powerful, especially during the family's darkest hours, from the Megxit fallout to Queen Elizabeth's passing. To allow anyone, even Camilla's daughter, to chip away at Catherine's future standing would be, in William's eyes, a betrayal of duty. Behind the scenes, he made his position crystal clear. The entire estate, personal and historic, flows through the Wales line, with no detours. That means Laura Lopes receives nothing, regardless of sentiment, proximity, or family affection. The royal system cannot operate on emotion. It must follow order. William's refusal also carried a tone of warning. He has long been wary of Camilla's growing influence, particularly after she was officially crowned queen in May 2023. Her attempts to elevate her own family, though subtle, have not gone unnoticed by the heir. What made matters even more sensitive was the timing. Charles's health, public expectations, and growing scrutiny over royal spending have all placed enormous pressure on the next generation. For William, this wasn't the moment to waver or make exceptions. It was the moment to protect the future. And Catherine was the future. "She's not just my wife," William reportedly said. "She's the keeper of what's to come." But while William's answer was final, the question remained. Who exactly was Laura Lopes, and why had Camilla risked so much to bring her into the fold? Who really is Laura Lopes? Camilla's quiet power play. For years, Laura Lopes has stayed under the radar. While her half-brothers, Princes William and Harry, grew up under constant media glare, Laura built a private life far from royal scandal. But now, as Camilla subtly pushes her into the royal inheritance conversation, the world is taking a closer look at the woman behind the name. Laura, born in 1978, is the daughter of Camilla and her first husband, Andrew Parker Bowles. She is an art curator married to accountant Harry Lopes and has 3 children. She lives a relatively quiet life in the Cotswolds, far from palace protocol and tabloid drama. But don't be fooled by her low profile. Within palace circles, Laura is known as Camilla's emotional anchor, loyal, discreet, and fiercely protective. During the years when Camilla was seen as the royal outsider, Laura stood by her mother, offering support while avoiding the press entirely. Still, she isn't a stranger to royal life. In 2011, her daughter, Eliza Lopes, was a bridesmaid at William and Catherine's wedding, standing on the famous Buckingham Palace balcony held in the arms of her step-grandfather, then Prince Charles. Laura has also been spotted at high-level events, the Order of the Garter, Platinum Jubilee, and coronation of King Charles, all quietly, without demanding attention. So why is Camilla pushing now? It's not about titles. Laura isn't entitled to any. And according to royal experts, she has no legal path to inheritance. But Camilla sees another kind of legacy, a financial gesture, a symbolic acknowledgement, not just for Laura's loyalty, but to cement Camilla's side of the family into the royal tapestry, even if it's unofficial. She never asked to be included, Camilla is rumored to have told a friend, but she's earned a place. Laura, however, hasn't commented publicly, and likely never will. Her style is silence, and her power is in not chasing power. But that may be exactly why Camilla sees her as deserving, a daughter who supported her through decades of scandal, and never once stepped into the limelight to benefit from it. Still, within the royal structure, loyalty alone doesn't override bloodline. And while Camilla may see this as justice, others see it as a quiet attempt to alter the monarchy from the inside. Now the question is no longer, who is Laura Lopes? It's, what does Camilla gain by placing her there? And the answer lies in a royal truth no one wants to admit. Camilla's children can never be royals. Why Camilla's children can't be royals, no matter what. Camilla's dream to elevate her children, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopes, clashes with royal law and centuries of tradition. Titles like HRH are granted by letters patent, tied to bloodlines, not marriages. Even as Queen Consort, crowned May 2023, Camilla can't rewrite the rules. As one palace insider said, "Love doesn't create a title." Tom and Laura live as private citizens. No royal salaries, no taxpayer-funded security, no palace duties. Elevating them would trigger parliamentary oversight and press backlash, especially amid scrutiny over royal spending. It's not a family favor. It's a constitutional issue. Camilla may offer discreet gifts or patronages, but that's the limit. Diverting wealth to her children risks damaging Prince William's inheritance and, by extension, Catherine's future role. The crown must remain impartial. As one senior official put it, "We owe the nation predictability." And now, the spotlight shifts to the woman at the center of this continuity, Catherine, who already holds priceless pieces of Queen Elizabeth's legacy. Catherine's quiet power, the Queen-in-Waiting, already holding keys. Catherine, Princess of Wales, doesn't need a crown to hold power. After Queen Elizabeth's death in 2022, she inherited major pieces from the Queen's private jewelry, including the legendary Hyderabad necklace, part of a collection valued at over £80 million. These aren't just jewels, they are symbols of continuity, worn at key royal events to reinforce the line from past to future. Catherine also commands respect through her public work, including mental health advocacy and countless royal engagements. That's why Prince William is fiercely protective of their inheritance. It's not about money, it's about preserving the monarchy's institutional structure. She represents continuity, royal commentators agree, and splitting assets would weaken that role. Any attempt to divert inheritance to Camilla's children would raise questions in Parliament, the press, and the public. In times of economic pressure, private royal wealth is already under fire. Charles knows this, which is why he stuck to the plan. It's not personal, aides insist. It's constitutional. With Catherine firmly in place, the monarchy's future remains stable, and Camilla's request stays quietly buried behind palace doors. The Inheritance War. Nobody expected. What began as a quiet conversation at Highgrove soon became a silent storm, a behind-the-scenes clash over legacy, power, and control. Camilla's request, disguised as maternal concern, landed like a shockwave in a monarchy built on order and tradition. Though the palace stayed silent, insiders say the impact was immediate. Anne's rejection, William's anger, and Catherine's calm resolve created deep tensions. At stake wasn't just jewelry or estates, but the question, can monarchy bend to emotion, or must it remain sacred? Inside Windsor Castle, fears grew. If Charles gave in, even once, future kings could face pressure to do the same. The line between duty and favoritism would blur, threatening the system itself. One senior aide reportedly warned, "You change the line once, and the whole system starts to unravel." The ripple hit royal advisors, legal teams, and even parliamentary contacts. Camilla's quiet plea risked becoming a constitutional crisis. Public backlash, already sharp over royal spending, would have been brutal if exposed. But the storm never made headlines, because the monarchy, true to form, handled it the old way, behind closed doors, with no announcement and no exception. How it ends. The crown holds its line. In the end, King Charles III chose the path he's been walking his entire life, the path of duty over desire. After private counsel with Princess Anne, a tense meeting with Prince William, and deep reflection, Charles made his decision. He would not alter the inheritance plan. The wealth, property, and legacy assets would stay intact, flowing as originally intended, from monarch to heir, and through the line to Catherine, the future queen. Camilla's request was not granted. Not officially, not quietly, not at all. To the outside world, nothing changed. But inside the palace, everyone understood what had just happened. A line had been drawn and not crossed. The monarchy isn't about generosity, a palace source later noted. It's about stability. Laura Lopes remains outside the circle of inheritance. She continues her private life in the Cotswolds, untouched by titles, protected by discretion, and forever excluded from the material wealth that now moves quietly toward the Wales family. As for Catherine, she remains the steward of the monarchy's most treasured symbols, heirloom jewels, royal patronages, and ancestral trust. Already, she wears pieces once owned by Queen Elizabeth II, including the legendary Hyderabad necklace and the George V festoon, marking her not just as a royal wife, but as the guardian of the crown's continuity. The outcome also reaffirmed William's position. His message was clear: inheritance is not about kindness. It's about the crown's future. Every estate passed down, every diamond placed on Catherine's neck, and every title prepared for their children is part of a plan far bigger than emotion. Of course, Camilla still wears the crown, but in many ways, the final word rests with Catherine, who now represents not just the present, but the royal tomorrow. This quiet battle ended without headlines, statements, or photographs. No one waved from a balcony. But the decision made inside those walls will echo through generations. The monarchy holds its line, and that line now runs straight through Catherine. And as the next chapter begins, it is not Camilla's daughter standing in the legacy's path. It is the Princess of Wales, holding it all together, gracefully, powerfully, and without saying a word. In the end, the crown didn't bend. Camilla's request was denied, and Catherine's place in royal legacy remained untouched. Tradition held firm, but not without cracks behind palace walls. As the monarchy moves forward, one truth is clear: loyalty isn't always rewarded, but bloodline always wins. Until the next royal twist,